Hello friends, back again to another video tutorial. My name is Afans Val. Without wasting any time, we are diving into PHP function. Wow! So now, what are we looking at? PHP function. I'll try as much as possible to find a way to explain this PHP function, but all I have been thinking, I don't know where to start and where to end. But we'll try as much as possible to explain it as much as we can. So when we talk of PHP function, PHP is just similar to what we can call variable. What is variable? Variable helps us to hold a value. At the same time, function a kind of way tries to hold information for us. But now the advantage of it has over variable is that when it gets access to any variable, any value, you find that it has opportunity to still process that value for us if we wish. If we don't wish, or it can carry out more actions concerning that information we are giving to him. It can as well talk to other functions in which a normal variable can only hold a value for us and cannot communicate with other variables, except when you in maybe, I don't even think they can communicate, but functions can work in the process of doing his work, processing what the action you give him to do, and there is need to pass information to another function. He can easily pass and also get back feedback. And at the end of the day, one good thing about function is that after the whole processing the information you gave to him, if you wish that he should return the information back to you, he will comfortably send it back to you. And that's one good thing I love about function. So now let's dive in. Now, this is a typical example that I want to use to illustrate whatever we want to learn today. Now, this is a HP laptop. In fact, this is an Apple laptop. I purchased it few days ago, and this is a model from Microsoft. They just dashed me this model. So let's assume that this is a user. He came into a system, he has access to this system, and he wishes to log into his Facebook account, for example. What do you think happens? Once he type in his username and password and click login, a function is called automatically, and that function is login function, depending on how you structure their backend. So we assume that we created a function called login function. You find that this login function will leave his seat. These are other functions. It will leave his seat and come and say, you called me. The system will now say, okay, see, we have information. Someone wishes to log in. See his username, see his password. He will give it to this login function. This login function will take the information given to him and now think of, what do I need to do next? The next is what? He first of all need to validate your input to make sure that you are not messing up, you're not trying to mess up the system. So he will call on this for another function, which is a validator. It will try to validate. Now all it does is validation. So it will try to validate the input to make sure that there is no malicious information coming in and we are not trying to mess up with the system. So after validating the system, what happens? It will find that it will return back the information back to the person that requested, which is the Google that sent the information to him. At the same time, we can as well send out another information to him, depending on any other function we wish to send that information. Mind you that it's still the same function, login function, that is processing the requests as fast as possible. That time somebody clicks login, all these things are happening. He can as well, after this person validates through that what you typed in, he met up the requirements. Now he can send out the same information to what? Query database, another function that will query the database to check whether maybe this user exists. If the user have maybe validated his email confirmation and all these things, and whenever he's trying to check out information concerning email confirmation, this one can work in hand with this one, another function, which is email confirmation, checking out what they need. So assuming they found out that this person have not confirmed this account, what happens? They can send back this guy information that this account has not been confirmed. The person needs to do what? Go to his email and confirm his account. What do you think this login will do? It can call on another function at the same time, which is mail function, trying to tell him what? Please mail back information that will enable this person to confirm his or her account so that he can be able to access the system. His email has not been confirmed, so we need to send information. At that point, he will now return a feedback to the user and tell him email have not been confirmed or account has not been confirmed. Kindly log into your email and confirm. Click the link to confirm your account. So this is a good example. And all these things I explained here what happen within milliseconds, sometimes few seconds, and depending on how your network is. So that's one good thing. Which variable cannot do this? Variable can only type in information, give it, it will hold. Till you need that information, it will give it back to you. So I believe that these few examples, as we dive in, we can be able to understand more concerning what I have been trying to explain in function, function, function. So next thing we need to do now is what? To make sure that our XAMPP is on. Always remember to this XAMPP, whenever we say XAMPP, we are talking of our server that needs to power PHP. PHP cannot run with browser cannot power PHP. So we need the server, in which this XAMPP is simply a local server. Since we are not online, we don't have online server we are working on currently, we can easily get a local server and work with. All you need to do is what? You on your server, start it, you start your Apache and start MySQL. So I've started mine. So next thing to do is to locate our working folder. So I can double click, go to my local disk, open my XAMPP folder, open my htdocs. So now inside my htdocs is where any work I place here will show. Any work I am placed here, it will be public, made public. It will be feasible on anywhere I want it. So please make sure that you are in this htdocs. If you are working with something like WAMP, you make sure that you are in www folder. So this is where you can get your work available whenever we check it in our browser. So at the same time now, I can easily create a new folder and give it a name, a simple name called what? Function. So I can type what? Function. I think I can do this. So now I got function, I open it. Basic things we need to set up. Maybe I can create a folder called image if I wish, even though I'm not making use of it, to show you that you can do there are things, possible things you can still do. It's still allowed. Assuming we are building a few sites in which as we go on we will still get to this point. So I created a folder called images. For now, when building a few sites, we'll make use of things like this. We'll have images folder. We're going to have something like CSS folder where we'll place all our CSS. We can have our JS folder if we're making where we'll place our JavaScripts. So we can now have our PHP outside of these folders, but mind you, we are having only our PHP inside function. So mine is within this part. You can trace your part, make sure that you are within the htdocs. It's very important at this point in time. So I can right click if I wish to open with my VS Code at this point, or I can close, locate where I have my VS Code. So I would like to do this, the one I know that, assuming you are not seeing it when you right click. So I can just double click on my VS Code, which is opening. Locate any text editor of your choice. It must not be VS Code. Anyone is okay. So now I'm telling you that I want to open the folder called function that I created. I can comfortably click on it. I locate that part where I created the folder, which is XAMPP htdocs. Then I have my function. So I clicked on top of this function. I can now say select folder. You find that it will open for me. It's still loading. Now it's good to go. So I think we're within this our folder called function. Find that all those empty folders we created are here. Now we wish to create a new file. So since this is our first file, I always like starting with index.php. That's how I roll. So I open my PHP tags. PHP. I don't know if I'm omitting anything. So I can type PHP. I will now bring down. Now let me close out this. So the next thing we need to do, I need to minimize this. I think I still remember how to do it. I can even close it off, or let me leave it so you can be seeing what I'm doing. So we can test to make sure that our code is working. How do we test? We can simply echo something like hello world. hello world. I always like using this to test. So I can simply do something. I always remember to put the semicolon and save. I minimize. I open my browser, any browser of your choice, but I always recommend Chrome. Please make use of Chrome as much as possible in your work. So now it's loading. I can click on my local host slash what is the name of the folder, which is function. That's the folder we created. Function.php. Okay, function, that's the folder. We're not putting, if we put .php on it, that means we are turning it into a file. So, but a folder just have a simple name without any dots. So since I have an index work, mean that once I type this folder on its own, automatically the browser will help me to search to make sure that if you can see anything index, if it's able to see index, it will open it. Assuming it's unable to see anything index within this folder, it will just load the contents, the whole content, and ask me to select anyone I want. Since I have index.php in it, if I click, you find that it will load it for me. Unfortunately, it's not showing us this index.php, but know that that's the page that is being loaded. If you wish, you can still complete yours with this index.php. Enter, it will still, you will still get the same results. Good and fine. So whenever we're talking, whenever we mention function, how do we create a function? We start by doing what? Typing the keyword function. You give a space, then can think of any name of your choice. Any name of your choice. Just the same way when we are creating a variable, we can think of any name. I can call something like school. I can mention something like this nature school, which is equals to, can give it any name, maybe UNN, University of Nigeria and Soka, University of Nigeria. So UNN, depending on your own choice, this is a comfortable variable. I've created a nice variable that is not doing anything, but I just feel like creating it. So the same thing, whenever you are creating a function, please make sure you are always using lowercase in your work. It's very important. So I can still write something like add, function add. So mean that I want to, maybe you always create a function similar to what you want to do. So to guide you, help you to remember later on, or any third party, anybody that wishes to look at your code can look at it and say that you can easily follow. Due to most of the things you are working on, most of the things you are creating is aligned. Just like whenever I wrote school here, variable school. So anybody looking at my code can know that I want to talk about school, maybe I want to hold something like, so that's it. Now looking at this add, function add, you find out what is happening. This person can guess that maybe I want to add something, which is what I want to do. So now this is a simple function for you. Whenever you hear function, we start with this keyword. We can change any name of our choice here. We open and close our parentheses, then this curly braces will follow. That's function. So we can insert anything of our choice, anything we wish. We can do what? Put in within this opening and closing. That's the content of the function. So I can drag this if I wish inside this function. So I find that within this opening and closing, I now have a variable called what? UNN. Good, I can save. Assuming we do echo. Okay, let me show you one thing before then, or maybe within this place, I can as well echo something within this function. Echo. What do I want to echo? I can say echo, I'm good. I'm good to go. That's what I want to write. I save. Do you think that we are going to see this when we check in our browser? No, we are not seeing it. Because of what? This function is kind of block statements. So anything within it, it does not make it available outside this scope. When we say within this opening and closing, it's not available. That's what we mean by function. So it's holding every content within it, waiting till you call on it. Just like example I showed you when we called on login, by when we finish typing, when we click on the button, login button, that's when it's being called, function is being called. So at this point, we have not called anything like add. So when we go back, if we save and go back to our browser and check, you'll find that we are just seeing our hello world, nothing else is showing. How do we call a function now to make this visible? All we need to do is, after declaring this function, we need to make sure that we are below it, not inside this closing, open and closing curly braces. Make sure that after the closing curly braces, any part of it below it, you can comfortably call the function. So any function you are calling must be defined up before the function call is being made. So I also, you can simply call this function by mentioning its name, and the name I gave to it is add. So I can easily mention it, but we make sure we put this parenthesis on it. We close. So now comfortably this function is being called. If we save and check, you find that we are going to see something. I am good to go. So it's just showing this way because we did not add. Maybe if we want it to the end to display next line, we just need to put our BR, which is break. If I check again, I will find that it's now on a new line. That's good example of how we can comfortably create a function and how we can call a function. But now what we want to do is simply to do some addition and subtraction. So we can have a variable a, which is equals to 21, we close. Variable b, which is equals to 10, and I close. I can now do something of this nature. Variable c, which is equals to variable a plus variable b. So we found that this function can help us solve a simple arithmetics comfortably. So you see that we come on the next line and do simple echo variable c. You can echo anything you want. If you want, you can echo variable a, variable b. But I decided to echo after it has finished solving this expression we have here, it should give us the answer. That's what we are doing. So if I save, I'm going to get an answer because of what I'm calling this function here. If I should comment this thing off and save, we find that there is nothing like an answer showing. There is no answer. So for us to see an answer, all we need to do is we remove the comments, we go back, we refresh, and it's now telling us 31. That's what we are seeing. It's showing us 31. Let me add this BR so that it doesn't affect, or maybe let me even delete what I have in this line. Can comfortably delete it. So we are seeing what? 31. So that's one aspect of function. So mean that we can use function to run a simple arithmetic like how I explained. A variable can just hold our information, but function can take time to process few things and give us our answer back. So that's good. Now another aspect we'll try to look at in this function is we can as well create a function that has with an argument, because now you find that this information we have here is hard-coded. Hard-coded means that we wrote it at the end of the day in the practical or real sense. Information that is coming to a function can come through an input. When you type in an input, you can have a variable. We have not gotten to that, but I know that maybe next series video will be shooting out to find that we discuss more concerning input, form validation, signing, and all these things. We'll still come to that. So, but now you should know that majority of information that we make use of every day comes from our users. So, which means that those information should be dynamic, not as hard-coded, how we have hard-coded it like this. So, in order to achieve something of this nature, what we can do is what I can clean up that variable and variable b. I can come here and pass, or maybe let me Control Z. I can just take away variable a, mean that I still have variable b to be 10. I can come within this argument. This argument means what? Our function, we are not trying to tell him that please take note of this guy. Whenever you are about to be called, on line 10, we are going to feed you information. That's what we are doing. We are not telling that we have variable A or we have a value. Let me use this value that is coming in. Means that anytime we are going to be called, expect that we are going to give you one value. We can't call you like this without providing one value. If we fail to provide this value, that means that it's not complete, and you can only provide it whenever we are calling this function. That's one thing we should take home. So now we have value. We don't have anything like variable A again. So I can just change this thing to mean A. I will explain. I know that some people may be confused at this point, but I will still come and explain. So what happened? Let me just save this and run and see what will happen. If I run this code, in fact, I will see an error, which is telling us fatal error uncut argument. So it's expecting an argument, too few arguments to function add. Mean that what? The error is coming from line 10. If we should check back, okay, line 3 is complaining. Okay, I think we can see that it telling us we should check our line 10. That's where the issue is coming from. Meaning that this function, we are calling this function here, but when we are calling him, this function will say that they told me something will come in this point. So all we need to do is we make available something within this section. We can make available maybe 8. So we are passing in an argument, we are passing in a value now, which this one, whenever this function is being called, this value we have, this 8 we have here, is being transferred and stored inside this value. And this value can comfortably do what? Pass this, whatever it has, into this place. So we passed 8. What is happening here is we have from line 1 to line 12. Our code will start reading from line 1. After line 1, line 2, there is nothing here. Line 3, it will see this function add, and it will say, function add, I can see that you're expecting something to be passed to you, which can be 100, 10, 20. We can pass any number. We can pass even a letter, obi, ada. But for now, since we are doing addition, which have to do with numbers, that's why we are mentioning numbers for now. So we can pass in 20, 30. That's what he's seeing, that it's expecting an argument. Simple. It will now take notes. It may not access everything, but it can just pass through and say, no need reading much, since that you have not been called. It will jump to line 7. That's all it will do. All it may check here is there any serious error you are having here? No. Do not take note of other important things here. It will jump to line 7. I'm going to line 8, line 9. It will come to line 10 and say, I can see there is a function called add. I've met him before on line 3. It will not remember that you have met him. And what it will say is what? Hey, remember that function I met requires an argument. It requires that something must be passed. It means that if nothing is here now, it will say, no, the one I met on line 3 is expecting that we pass in something inside value. You're supposed to pass in a number to value, which is a variable. This value is a variable, so that it will be available inside of this function, so that this value can be used inside of this function. That's what it's saying. So if we now pass in 12, it will say, okay, yes, you have done the right thing. I can see you are passing in 12, and this 12 now will be stored inside this value. Good. So mean that when we are doing variable c equals to, this variable is what? This value we have here is equivalent to 12 that is being passed in to this line 3, and this line 3 will push it inside this place. So that's what is happening. So it will now say that 12 plus 10, which is b, which is equals to 10, is now what? 22. It will now store 22 within this section, and we can echo 22. If we save and check, you find that we are not going to see any error. We are now seeing 22. So this means that we can have more than one argument. It's not something of a must. So if we want, we can as well take away this variable b. Now we can have this variable b right here. Variable b. So mean that whenever this code come again to start reading, PHP is processing our code starting from line 1, line 2, line 3 to say variable add Now I can see that you have two arguments. You're expecting two arguments to be passed before I can work. If we should try to run this line 10 now, it will not work because it will say I'm only seeing one argument, but I can see that you have two, in which we have this before we have comma, we have another argument. So mean that if we must provide two, this 12 is for the first argument. The second argument, which is variable b, we can now put maybe something like 30 in it. So which is means that what when it start processing line 10, it will now call this function, which is add, and now carry this 12 and store on value, carry this 30 and store on variable b. So carry 12 and store on variable value, carry 30 and store on variable b. So inside of this place, 12 is available to this guy on line 5. It can pick 12 from this line 3 and insert on line 5. It can pick 30 from line 3 and insert on line 5. This section will have b. And comfortably it will now say what? 12 plus 30, which is what? 42. If we save and check, what are we seeing? We can now see 42. Good. So we at the same time we'll try to, without wasting time, to pass the third argument, which can be name. So mean that now this function is taking three arguments or kind of. So at this point, remember that we say that it's only numbers that we can write without what? Having quotes on them. So now mean that whenever we want to write something other than number, we need a string. So now I want a string, I can now do something like farms, which is my name, var. So at this point, we have first value, we have second value, we have third value. If we want, we can exchange the position. I can take this to be first, put comma, then second and third. Since I have exchanged the position, I must come up here and make sure that the one for name should be what? The first, comma. So the one for name should be the first, so that the name is going to the first position, 12 is going to the second position value, 30 is going to the third position B. So that's what is happening. Don't misplace them. At this point, you have the first argument, comma, second, third, whatever you want. So you can have a fansvar if you want. You can still type as much as you want inside this string. But I just want to have a simple fansvar. So inside this place, now I can make use of them. Even if I don't want to have this, I can make use of the concatenation we have done before, in which I can do something like this. Name. When I type name, I'm picking this thing because I know that it will carry anything I have here and insert it to this variable. So it will carry a fansvar and put inside this variable. That's why I'm making use of it within this block statement. Why I'm making use of it within this block statement is that anything we must use within this block statement must be available within this argument. We may not pick information from external. So make sure you pass any information you want to make within this section from as an argument, except the one you want to hard code on your own and write it straight. So now as I continue, name, which is a fansvar, which is inserted here, is what I'm writing. Name is, so I can concatenate a variable and join a string, is now. I can concatenate again and join what? This value. Can join b, variable b dot. I want to concatenate again. If you know how to concatenate, yes, old, full stop. If I want to continue make my statement, I can pass, or full stop. I can say he has, or he is married. 2. If I want to concatenate, now I want to wrap this. I can go to my view so that it will be visible to you as we are working. So top go wrap. So you can comfortably see what we are doing. So now we are making a statement which the first one is Afansval is now, it will pick this which is 30 years old, which is a lie. I'm not up to that. He is married to, I can now concatenate the second value depending on the one we want to pick. I can put dots and pick this information here. Copy. I can bind to 12. I concatenate again. Wonderful. Anything I want to write, I can write it. That's what I want to do. So mine to 12 wonderful ladies. That's simple and short. So I find that I now have a function which can do what? Make a simple statement for me. I hope we're not making any mistake. Now you can see the statement. Afansva is 30 years old. He's married to what? 12 wonderful ladies. So another important good thing about function is that we can make use of this function as much as we want. We can reuse our functions. So I can create another add. This add I have now, maybe at the end of this line, I try to have another echo within the function. All it's holding is BR for me, and I close. So it means that after printing out statement on line 5, you should do what? On line 6, break any other information coming to the next line. So I can change this one to what? Any name of my choice. So I can change it to Emeka. Brain. I can change this number, maybe 3, and I change the 8 to maybe 20. I can have the third one. So I'm still calling same function. It's your choice. And this time I can have something like maybe Ben. This is just one word, or even in capital. Okay, let me just make it Ben. Has what? Is depend on what. Can put 1 or maybe 2, and this time I can say that he's now 48. If we save, what do you think will happen? So all that is happening here is that we created one function called add on line 3. So this function we created started from here and ended on line 7. We have a simple statement in sprint now, but at this point from line 3 to line 7, the function has not been called, so nothing will show on the screen. On getting to line 10, to first find that we are calling the function and we are passing the same number of arguments expected, 1, 2, and 3. That's what he's saying here. At the same time, in this place, 1, 2, and 3. So he's taking note that we are getting the same arguments. If we omit passing these 3 arguments, error will appear. I would like you to try it out. Check what will happen. I save. Check out passing 2, passing 3, passing 4, and the rest of them. But now let's test our code and see what is happening. If I go back and check, we are seeing those 3 statements we made. Afansval, Emeka Brain, Ben is now mean that we can make use of anything of our choice. So that's one good thing about function. I can take away this once and I go back and create another function. So you can have as much function as you want. So now I'm creating another function. This one can be maybe division. That's what it's doing. So at this point, remember whenever you finish, you put your word parentheses before opening curly braces at the end of the day. So at this point, what we are trying to do is I can remove what I have here. So we can have our simple division, what we have, our simple addition and subtraction. So this one is added. And what we want it to do, have variable C, which is equals to. Now you notice that I have 2 arguments here. So I need to make sure that these ones are 2 arguments, not 3. control. So I need to make sure it's just two arguments. So I take away one. So now I have my variable c inside of this, and the things that are available to it is variable a plus variable what b. I can now close. So assuming we want this function, what will I call it? That function division depends on function add. Means that after function add must have finished processing what it has, it will give you to what division. After function add has finished processing what it has, it will give it to division. So what we can do is we can do something of this nature. Now division is taking just one variable, and that variable is called variable x, in which what she's doing is we have variable sum. This is a variable sum which is equals to, we can call this function inside this same function. It means that now we are doing something bit complex. We are trying to call another function inside another function. We are trying to call function add inside function division. So this time around, because we are expecting him to give us the last value of his answer, that's why we are doing what? We are creating a variable for it. And mind, if you remember what I said that whenever you have a variable, what is in the right is carrying whatever it has, the value it has, and storing it in what is in the left. And now what we have in the right is add, which is our function above. And immediately I created add, we should take note that our add above is taking two parentheses, two arguments. So we can just give in two arguments. I can pass something like 5. I can pass maybe 5. And I can as well pass the second argument like this. Variable second equals to 15. I can do something on this, and I'll carry this value, copy, and pass as the second argument. So nothing changed. The only thing is that instead of me writing 15 here, I decided to first of all store it in another variable before just passing it here. I can as well write 15 straight like this, is okay, but I just decided to store it first in this variable before this. So it's just that as our code is reading down, when it goes to line 7 to see this function, line 8 you'll find that we just created a variable holding 15. Here I'm just passing that 15 in this line 9. That's what it's doing. So a in this sum, because we are creating a sum value, a sum function, we are calling this sum. That's what we are doing, meaning that once we are calling, we don't need to have this function keyword in front of it. Whenever we are calling a function, we make sure that we don't have it, we just have the name of the function. We check the number of arguments it has, we pass the same. If it doesn't have anything, we make sure that it's empty. If this one is empty, this one should also be what? Empty. But it has two arguments, that's what we are passing. So we can put our semicolon at the end of the day. If you are following, at this point, what else do? We find that anything we can as well, maybe before we continue, let's just echo and know if it will work. Echo variable sum. For me, I don't think it will work. I don't think that it will work. I don't think so. But let's try it out. I know that you have better faith than me. So if I find that we're not seeing anything, that's why we did echo. Why? And the answer is simple. Because at this point, this function is just depending on it. So mean that after calculating whatever he calculated, he doesn't know what to do again on line 4. He just calculated, and the value he calculated is just on C, variable C. So it's not doing anything. So now mean that if we're expecting a function as a helper function to be an assistant or whatever way, we need to have this keyword or this PHP called return keyword, which now, so whenever we say return, mean that whenever he calculates anything finish, if he meets this return, it will try to return it to the owner of the function. That's what is happening here. So what am we returning? We can tell him to return C, variable C. We can tell him to return variable A, depending on your choice. But you have to return what you have within. So another important thing to take note, if you have something like this, variable D is equals to 7 or 4 equals to 4, and we are doing something like echo variable D, what do you think will happen? For the fact we have return statement on line 9, return means please don't continue whatever else that is within this function tag, within this function. Anyway you jam return, forget every other remaining things, which is line 6 and 7 that is still within this function tag. Just return whatever you have already, start sending it back. So implication is that your code will not get to line 6 and 7 once it's executing this add function. Take note of that. So mean that if we want this thing to be available, we make sure that we take it before the return keyword. We make sure they have it before return keyword. But at this point, I don't think we are making use of anything like this. So we are trying to make our work simple and neat. So now we are returning this value. Mean that please calculate this, after calculating and return it back. In case that if it's being needed anywhere, we can send information to them. So now we are calling the add, which is this add we have above. What will happen? Due to we have this return, is returning the information from here. So as it's returning that information, we can now store something in sum. Information will enter inside sum. Something can now enter in this variable sum. And if we echo, we will now see something on the screen. We are not seeing anything. Why? So something is wrong. And who can tell me what is wrong? What is wrong? And I think what is wrong, what is simple wrong is that we forgot to call division. So meaning that anything with this section, line 8 to line 12, will not execute because it's a function and it's still waiting to be called. So, but before we call this function division, I want us to call add again outside here. Remember that we said that we call functions below their name. If you want, you can call it on line 7. If you want, you can call it on line, but it must be below that function. Even if you want to call it on line 100, line 1000, line 2000, but the fact is below that function, we are good to go. So I can just call this variable, this function add again, and I pass maybe 1 and 2. I'm expecting that it should add 1 plus 2, which is this one is 1 and this one is 2, and give me 3. If we save and check, are we seeing anything on the screen? No, because of what? We have return, and return means what? In as much as it's trying to return the answer it has, but the problem we are having now is that we are not having anything echo, meaning that for anything to show on the screen, we must have echo. So we are just returning the answer back to this function, which is available. If we do something like variable C equals to this, meaning that as we add this, it's returning it to this C. So C is holding 3, but since we are not echoing C, we are not seeing it. Now let's try an echo variable C. This time we find that comfortably we are going to see 3. Unexpected on line 16 echo. So why are we seeing unexpected? Because we forgot to close this. Always remember to close, always. So if we go back and check, we see our 3 on the screen. You find that what, when we are doing return, it's returning it to any variable we are creating. It will store our information to any variable we create. It will not appear on the screen. So we need to echo out our code. While if we delete this and we have a simple echo, if we delete this and we have a simple function which is calling this, assuming we change this to echo, that means we now have echo inside here. What will happen? It will still show on the screen, because after calculating now, we are telling him to just echo it. We're not telling him to return back So echo means after calculating what you have, show it on the screen straight. So, but if we should have return like we have here, that means we need to push in and make a variable where it should be returned to. So that's one thing I wanted to explain. We now go back to calling our division, function division. So what do? We come below it. We can come here and start calling it. Come below any point of your choice. You can now have variable. How do I create variable again? Variable division. When I say calling, we open our words without having function in front of. Sorry, nothing like variable division. I'm making mistake. Forgive me for this. Okay. So let's be back. Let's continue. Now I have variable division. You notice that it's expecting one argument. So we can just pass in maybe something like 2. So I can pass 2 and save. I don't need to start storing it because inside variable division I have echo. That's why I'm not trying to create anything like variable d equals to, and I come under and do echo variable d. No need. No need for this because of what? We already have echo inside of our variable d. Control. So we can just do what? Call our division and pass any number of our choice. You can pass something like what? 4. And I save. So what happens? It will read this line of code from line 1 PHP. It sees a function on line 3 add. Okay, you're trying to add something. That means at the end of the day, I should return it back. It will say, okay, I'm not calling it because you have not asked me to call this function. It will come and see function division and say, okay, I'm taking notes. I'm not going to read some of the things you have inside. I'm not going to do anything because you have not asked me. None of you is being called. So you say division, you have not been called yet. As it's going down, line 13, coming to line 14, you say, wow, they say I should call division. It will go and look for function called what? Division. And call it. So once you call this division, you can now enter inside this curly braces and process what it has within this place. It can now say, okay, second, you are 15. Okay, I noted. Sum, okay, they want, that means this function should have a kind of return keyword, which means that after execution, it's returning something to me. And they want me to store whatever this function is storing in this sum. Whatever the function is returning, they want me to store it in sum. And this function above, which is sum, needs looking for 2 arguments like this. It's okay, so that 5 will be A. This variable second, once it goes up here, it will change to B. It will carry what you have inside of it, which is 15, and store inside B. And forget about this guy. This guy will just die a natural death. Once it transfers 15 to B, it will die a natural death. There's nothing like second again. What will continue is variable B. Will now continue processing. The only place second is alive again is within this function. But coming to here, it will have changed its name to variable B. That's what is happening. So once you check, you say, okay, this thing will process, it will carry the answer and give, and now we want to echo it. So we find that this function just called and things are happening. What is showing on the screen, we are seeing 20. So assuming we do something like, since we are expecting S, we can now do another thing. We can now say something like variable, I can call it any of my choice, Y, which is equals to sum, which is 20, like we saw, divided by variable X, which is what is coming from this one. So this is how we do division. So mean that we can now save. If we check, we find that it's what? 5. Wow, we have done a nice work. So I just try to do a little explanation of basic aspect of function. As we dive in, very soon we are going to work with login. I will take time explain login function for us. But at this point, I would like us to take time practice what we have done so far. As much as possible, try to create your own logic, think of anything outside the box, create it. So take home before we close this current section that is running now is that We have many inbuilt functions in PHP. We have a lot of them. Inbuilt means that PHP created them to help us, help our life, to make things easy for us. That's one of the things we call inbuilt function in PHP. So there are more than 1,000 of them that are available. And as we go on, we'll be making use of some of those inbuilt functions. We have print. The other time I did something like vadom. When we say vadom, that means we can have this answer here. Which one is our last answer? Which is this y. We can decide to remove this echo. For example, I can come here and say var underscore dump. So this is one example of inbuilt function. And what this vadom does is what it will try to bring out every information concerning this y, data type, number of things is holding, and the rest of them. It helps us a lot in debugging also. So when we go back and check, we find that it's telling us that this is an integer and it's holding what? 5. So that's one good thing about vadom. We have another one. Maybe we want to check whether this thing is array. So we can check. You find that it's showing. We can as well save, and it will tell us what. So it's not showing anything. Mean that it's not okay. It's array. I can echo it out. Since it's showing, I can do something like echo, so I can see it, or I can do echo variable a equals to. So I'm trying to check if this is an array, and I'm telling that any information it has. So mean that this is an inbuilt function which is returning an information for me. I want you to solve it, save it in A. If I go back and check, it's not showing anything. Why? So I think the same way, let's make use of vadom. Since I said that vadom can help us bring out anything concerning whatever we want to check. So I can do my simple var underscore dump. So I can check this thing I want to check whether it's an array. So I'm expecting true or false. If I click it's telling me what? False, that is not an array. That's what we are seeing, false. And it's saying that false belongs to a data type called what? Boolean. So it tries to guide us on many things. So we have many of them that are inbuilt function, but I may not point out many of them in this tutorial. But take note that from subsequent tutorials, we'll start touching them one by one, start looking at those inbuilt functions. So while these ones we are running here are what we call what? Self-defined. I think we are the one defining those ones. So self-defined function, we are the one creating those functions on our own, and are doing the work we want, trying to help us solve one or two problems in our program. Thank you so much for watching this video. God bless you. I love you.